morning. I'm Marjorie Rice, and I'm your worship associate this morning. And we are here to welcome all to Shawnee Unitarian Universalist Church. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your life's journey, you are welcome here. Okay, that better? All right. We're not hearing? Are we hearing? Okay. We are so happy that you've chosen this YouTube channel, this Sabbath, this sanctuary in time. We know that you have so many options on Sunday morning, and that you have chose to be here is something that we celebrate. We extend an especially warm welcome to our visitors and anyone who may be watching our service online for the first time. If you like to follow along with the hymns using a hymnal and forgot to pick one up on your way in, please feel free to grab one from the carts near the entrance. We now invite everyone to greet each other in any way you possibly can. Elbows if you're here, and if you're joining us online, please say hi in the chat room. Technical problem.
But while Marjorie is working to get the flames set, I think Jim has a few announcements.
Good morning. I feel a bit like Paul Harvey. Those of you above a certain age will know who that is. If you're a young person, ask an old person who that is. I have several announcements. I'll try to be quick. First, if you are a recent newcomer to this church, please consider attending our Just the Basics session today, immediately following the service. This is a 30-minute session, an overview of Unitarian Universalism and this congregation, and will give you a chance to ask questions, meet other new folks. So after today's service, grab a cup of coffee and meet me out by the welcome table. Page 2. I'm pleased to report that we have over 70 people signed up for our second annual all-church picnic. The picnic will take place next Saturday, the 19th of August, from 4 o'clock to whenever, at Shelter 12 in Shawnee Mission Park. If you're planning to come, please sign up after today's service to bring something or to help. There's a sign-up table in the foyer, and we're especially in need of cooks and kayak monitors. Someone will explain what that is. Page 3. Friends, do you struggle with technology? Do you have trouble navigating your way to or through the realm of realm? Do you find it difficult to face Facebook? Do you struggle silencing your cell phone when it rings during the service? Do you wonder what exactly is an online form? Do you feel you're no genius when it comes to Sign Up Genius? If any of these apply to you, help is on the way. Starting next Sunday, and on the third Sunday of every month, look for the Tech Table out in Fellowship Hall after the service, where smiling tech support personnel will be happy to help you. Feel free to bring your own personal laptop, tablet, or phone so we can help you with the specific help you need. Page 4. Is Anne McCleary here? I'd like to, please stand up, Anne. Everybody, this is Anne. Everybody say, "Hi, Anne." Hi, Anne. Now, for those of you who don't know Anne, she's a very important part of this church. She's the team leader for the Sunday morning hospitality team. That is the greeters, the ushers, the people who put out the food for you to snack on, and the coffee makers. We are running low of volunteers. So before I continue, let me tell you what the 4 most important words in the English language are. How can I help? Think about it. How many times have you used those words in a variety of contexts, and how good did it make you feel? You're not fixing somebody's problems, you're just helping. Say it with me. How can I help? Well, you can help by seeing Anne after the service and volunteering to serve 1 Sunday a month. As a greeter, a refreshment person, a coffee maker, Anne knows what the needs are. We're especially short on people to set out and maintain the snacks that are available in fellowship time. So, I don't even want to think what would happen if we didn't have coffee on Sunday. Let's not go to that dark place. So, you're going to go to Anne after the service, and what are you going to say? How can I help? Thank you. And with page 5, I'd like to introduce Phil Hannon, your board president.
So if you're not going to the session with Jim after the service today, we have an exciting activity taking place right here in this sanctuary. Tomorrow, the carpet in here is going to be cleaned. In order for that to happen, we have to get all the chairs and everything else, except for the piano, off the carpet. And we're going to do that right after the service. So please stick around. We can move some of the chairs up onto the podium. We can move some of the chairs out into the hallway. It'll go quickly, but please stick around and help. The more help we have, the quicker it'll go. Thanks.
Right. We didn't turn the page. Lots of pages here. So, now that I've got the right page, we are going to give a warm welcome to our Gaia community and Matt Scrivner. He's the board member to introduce Gaia Community, and Matt, say a few words.
Good morning. My name is classic blunder. You say good morning and you have to wait. My name is Matt Scrivner, and I come to you from Gaia Community, a Unitarian Universalist congregation that will soon be meeting here on Sundays from 4 to 6 p.m. I've been coming to fellowship with you all for a while now and liked it so much that when a need for a new place for Gaia to meet came up, I said, you know, what if we moved back in with our friends at SMUUCh? And everyone said, okay. And when I brought it up here, everyone said, okay. And I'm looking forward to seeing how our two congregations can continue to interact and grow together in a variety of ways. Oh, thank you for the warm welcome so far, and I look forward to more. Not sure where I'm going. The next part is me. I find that wisdom often comes in song lyrics, if we're listening closely enough. So I want to share with you some seasonal words written by my friends from Gaia Community, Kitty Dagler and Kimberly Reynolds-Gear, in the Llamas song that Kitty composed. Summer is passing. The year flies on by. Harvest successes? Let fallow fields lie. Reap what you've grown with effort, love, and time. The corn is a-ripening, and autumn is nigh. Sun blaze brightly, grain grow tall. Joys and regrets are the heralds of fall. It is the season of harvest, a time of feasting and a time of preparation, a time to reflect on what we've grown in the year that has been passing, and a time, indeed, to reach for those who love. So as we prepare for our first hymn this morning, it has been a while, and I want to let you know that Ben will play it through once for us, but come, let us worship, and please rise in body or in spirit as you are able for hymn number 359, When We Are Gathered. And I'd like to invite all of our young people forward for the time for all ages. All right, we've got a few more on the way. So today, I want to talk to you about nature's cycles. And who can think of a cycle that nature goes through? Winter, yes, winter is part of the cycle of seasons. What's a cycle you might see if you look up at the sky? Rain, yeah, you had a hand up. Okay, but yes, weather is a cycle. Weather is also tied to a cycle of water. Who can tell me what is the parts of the water cycle? Rivers are part of it. Exactly. In the winter, the water gets cold. And what happens to water when it gets cold? It freezes up. And when it warms again, like you said, the water isn't solid. First, it turns back into a liquid. And when it gets really hot, like it's been lately, it evaporates. And sometimes it does what it's been doing until today, where the water just kind of hangs out in the air and everything's really sticky. And then we have what we have this morning. When it rains, sometimes it rains really hard. So I want to ask you all something. Is it normal for us to see a lot of rain in August? No. And that's because sometimes cycles don't always go the way we expect them to. Sometimes we get stuck. So it's almost time for school, isn't it? You've been already? Ooh, 3 days left. Oh, wow. So that's hard, isn't it? When we change from summertime to, I have to get up in the morning and go to a place and sit still. But there's good news. We can ask for help. So what are some helps you might need going back to school?
Figuring out where your classes are.
Figuring out where your classes are. What else?
Getting better at reading.
Getting better at reading, absolutely. Maybe, hey parents, please help me get up in the morning. That it can also be a clock. So the other thing I want to talk to you about today is a thing called Lammas. And Lammas is part of a big cycle called the Wheel of the Year. Lammas is a celebration of the first harvest at the end of the summer. Do any of you have a garden? You do. What sorts of things are coming out of your garden? Definitely mostly flowers, okay? tomatoes and herbs and peppers. Yeah, your grandma's got a flower garden. Yeah, that is great. So, Dr. Jen wrote that at her house, they're getting a lot of tomatoes right now. And this is the time of year, not only when we do a lot of harvesting, but plants start to drop their seeds. And we know from times past that two things would happen at this time of year. People would start gathering in their harvest, especially of things like wheat. So celebrating Lammas is often a time that people have bread. But also they gather up those seeds so that when it's springtime again and we need to replant our garden, we have seeds ready to go. So there's two things I want you to think about when you think about Lammas, and that's bread, and also what can I do to get ready for the next cycle? Sound all right? Okay, I'm going to let you all go on to your classes, and if we could all sing the children out.
Today, for our musical time, we're going to spend it together learning a song. We love doing some new hymns now and then because we have some great songs in our songbook. So today, we are going to learn our closing song. And I've written the words. They should be up here. And I'm also going to ask my helpers to come up forward to help us learn the song together, too. So first, I'm going to have, the song we're learning is the closing song. It's Heap High the Farmer's Wintry Hoard. It's number 70 in your songbook if you'd like to turn to that. And I'm going to have Ben play the melody for us, just so we can hear it first. So we have a somewhat celebratory tune, so hopefully we can celebrate when we get to the closing song. So I'm going to sing the first phrase, and then I'll have you repeat after me, okay? So I'll just point to me when it's my turn, and I'll point to you when it's your turn to repeat. Heap high the farmer's wintry hoard, heap high the farmer's wintry hoard. Do you know this song already? That was great. Okay, I'll sing the second phrase. Heap high the golden corn, heap high the golden corn. Good. If you're anything like me, you love sweet corn. So can I get a fist pump on corn? Will you sing that again with me and fist pump on corn? Heap high the golden corn. Yes. And I'll sing the last phrase for you, and then we'll sing that together. No richer gift has autumn poured from out the lavish horn. No richer gift has autumn poured from out the lavish horn. Beautiful. Okay, so let's sing the whole thing, this first verse, together. That way, when we get to the closing song, we can really get into it and celebrate together. Here we go. Heap high the farmer's wintry hoard, heap high the golden corn. No richer gift has autumn poured from out the lavish horn. Thank you.
And now, let us take a moment to come fully into this place. Put your feet flat on the floor and take a deep breath. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable and relax into your chair. Allow your breathing to deepen beautifully. Wiggle your jaw. Melt. Notice an area that is tense or tight and embrace it. Say to it, relax. It's okay to relax. Let the bustle of getting here melt away and come into this space of holiness. We come to this place to see and be seen, to teach and be taught, to hear and be heard. Now feel the presence of those sitting next to you, in front of you, and behind you. We are here together, gathered in peace and authenticity and intention. Blessed be.
We come to this place to share our joys and sorrows. If you have a joy or sorrow to share, I now invite you to come forward and light a candle. You can share what's in your heart or on your mind in one or two sentences. You can share with a single word, or you can share in silence and simply light a candle.
It was my wonderful husband's birthday yesterday, and I just light this candle for his birthday and in appreciation for what a wonderful partner and father he is.
I'm Tim Todd, the troop chairman for the 2 Scouts BSA troops here at SMUUCh. Troop 67 is the boy troops, Troop 6067 is the girls troop, and yesterday we celebrated with Sienna Domains as she achieved the rank of Eagle, which is the highest rank in scouting. And Sienna is the second girl in Troop 67 to achieve the Eagle Scout rank, so we celebrate that.
On Wednesday would have been my wife and I's 25th anniversary.
Hi, I'm Dale Trott, and yesterday I attended a funeral of a co-worker of mine at the company I retired from, who retired the same year I did. He was tragically killed with his wife in Wisconsin on a golfing trip a few weeks ago, and it's so sad because they seem to be perfectly, he only was married for 12 years to this woman, and they seem like perfect soulmates, and they died together in a fiery crash, head-on collision in Wisconsin. And I can't get it out of my mind how tragic it was. And, you know, just realize how quickly life can end for you. And so, candle of sadness.
I'm Miles Raymond, and I come here to help celebrate my wife's birthday tomorrow. A beautiful and lovely and caring wife. And I didn't light the candle.
I'm lighting a candle of joy. I got broken up with last weekend, which is not normally a joyful thing, but the number of friends and family that I've had by my side, making sure that everything is okay, is an amount of a support that I never saw coming. So I'm really joyful to have all these good people in my life.
Who light the remaining candles for what remains in our heart that we're not able to speak. Please speak these words with me. We hear your words. We witness your life in all its heaviness and brilliance, and we carry your joys and sorrows in a shared heart.
I'd like to invite you once again to feel your breath deepen. Experience the shift in weight as your body fills with air and the way you sink into your seat as your breath settles and changes direction outward. And allow your gaze to wander and settle on someone close to you. And as you take your next breath, extend a golden line from you and your heart to this person, allowing it to connect the two of you. As you exhale, sending out all the caring, support, and well wishes you have for them along that golden line. And let your gaze wander again as you inhale, knowing someone has sent a golden thread to you. And begin to take in everyone you can see. As you breathe, extending a golden line from your heart to all of theirs. And as you breathe out, sending all the nurture and care and well wishes that you have to give. And continue breathing that way until you are connected to everyone in your field of view. I invite you to revel in the knowledge that for all the care you are sending out, it is returning to you multiplied. Blessed be.
Connections are made slowly. Sometimes they grow underground. You cannot always tell by looking what happens. More than half a tree is spread out in the soil under your feet. Penetrate quietly as the earthworm that blows no trumpet. Fight persistently as the creeper that brings down the tree. Spread like the squash plant that overgrows in the garden. Gnaw at the dark and use the sun to make sugar. Weave real connections, create real nods, build real houses. Live a life you can endure. Make love that is living. Keep tangling and interweaving and taking more in, a thicket and bramble wilderness to the outside, but to us, interconnected with rabbit runs and burrows and lairs. Live as if you like yourself, and it may happen. Reach out, keep reaching out, keep bringing in. This is how we are going to live for a long time, not always. For every gardener knows that after the digging and after the planting, after the long season of tending and growth, the harvest comes.
Live as if you like yourself, and it may happen. If there were one phrase in there that is the hardest for me personally, that's the one. Now, you may have seen a symbol with today's service, a circle that isn't quite closed. This is the enso of Japanese calligraphy, and it is indeed basically a circle. Crucially, in many iterations of the enso, the brushstroke doesn't quite connect all the way around. The way remains open to enter, to leave, or to take up again a space inside. As a pagan not tied down to any one particular tradition, the circle might be the most important symbol for me. We work with a magic circle to protect us in our doings. We stand or sit in circles so that the energy might flow more easily and growing between us. And crucially, the wheel of the year. For many, though not all pagans, this is an organizational tool that, since it was popularized in the mid-1960s, has become almost a default way of moving through the year over 8 holidays and the turning of 4 seasons. The winter, beginning at Samhain on October 31st, is the final harvest, the beginning of what I refer to as the fallow season, a time for looking inward and wondering, what is it that I need? What are the needs of those in my home, at my hearth, and my other close ones? That season continues until it turns again on February 1st at Imulk, a word meaning, roughly translated from the Gallic, the belly. This is the time when livestock who conceived in the fall are beginning to give birth and give milk to their newborns. This is a time of planning for the year ahead, and it's the beginning of the planning and the planting season. At Imulk, it is good to contemplate, what do I want to see from a year, and what do I need to set in motion for those things to become reality? And then the growing season and traditional season of fair weather for outdoor activities begins at Beltane. You might know it better as May Day on May 1st. In this season, it's important to try new things, meet new people, and seek out the experiences that nourish ourselves and those plants that we planted earlier. The final cycle is the one we have just entered, the harvest. The time when what we have planned for, what we have sown and tended, is reaped and stored away against the fallow days ahead. And depending on how those harvests turn out, it may be a time of great sacrifice. Lammas, called also Lunasa in the Celtic traditions, is marked on August the 1st as the first harvesting of grain in late summer. First harvest also signals a coming end to more reliable fair weather, and the harvest season is, in many ways, tied to death. To harvest, we bring down mature plants to mill our grain, to preserve the last vegetables and fruits for winter, as we look ahead to calculate and wonder how much of what we have gained needs to be saved back, and if we need to cut back on what we do for that to get us through. Now, with as tidy a system as this presents, it's incredibly easy to think of our lives as a succession of annual cycles. There's even a wonderful spiritual practice for this, where through meditation and divination and self-reflection, you can arrive at a single word to serve as a guiding purpose for a year. It's a great practice. I have gotten a lot out of it. My word for this year was kintsugi. I am happy to talk about that later. But the thought of our spiritual cycles as strictly annual is a trap. And why would I say that? I want you to take a moment and consider your last really big achievement. Did that really happen over 1 year? Or did your connections build slowly after your initial tinkering, growing underground in the fertile soil of your heart and mind? And perhaps while it was growing there, you shelved it for a while and saw a new need to take that idea out of the ground, either complete or to show members of the community for reworking, so that it's for the best for all. Now, beyond our individual achievements, are you, as a you, yet still in a state of becoming? Becoming a better self, a more welcoming and just member of this and your other communities? If you are, you know the circle never really closes. Like the Enso in its purest form, we are beginnings without an end. A brushstroke on the fabric of the universe that is ongoing, so that every time we grow, we see the arc of what we need to begin for the next cycle of growth. But maybe, like me, you don't have the perspective to see the decades-long arc of your own becoming. In fact, you may find yourself stuck in one season for several years at a time, and that is okay. Our lives are not single-year cycles, and try as we might, we can't plan for everything. But for getting through our daily living, we can do a lot worse than paying attention to the seasons and what they call us toward. So what then do we as a mostly urban, mostly non-farming group of people have to gain from marking a time of grain gathering? Lammas sparks a time when we gather what we have grown, and that need not be a literal physical crop. What relationships have we nurtured? What areas of work have we developed new skills in? What goals have we set that we had to set down? What goals have we greatly succeeded in? We know from both historical record and myths of many peoples that the harvest season was both a time of feasting and of making offerings, and that sometimes those two activities were the same thing. In the Greek city-states, the offering made to the gods were the offal, bones, and fat of an animal whose meat would then be cooked and served out to everyone in a vast community feast, possibly like an annual picnic. For many of those seasons, this grand event might be their only meat meal of the year. In an agricultural cycle, harvest planning still involves checking grain stores against the current needs of household members and livestock. Herds were traditionally culled at the end of the harvest season at Samhain to ensure that breeding stock and newborns made it through the winter ahead. And friends, if you watch prices closely, you may notice in September and October that even now there are really big sales on meat in September and October. Even in a system so removed from how our ancestors lived in relationship with the land and its cycles. The harvest season is still our opportunity to guess at the fallow season ahead and begin to consider what we need to make it through that lean time. Are there responsibilities we can no longer carry? Do early mornings, evenings, or weekends have to be sacrificed to a second, a third, a fourth side job so that we might keep our garden watered? Is there an abundance suggesting we ought to share our good fortune with others in the community to minimize the sacrifices of their joys where we can as beloved members in community with one another? Sometimes harvest is hard. In many ways, March of 2020 was the beginning of an early harvest and extended fallow season in my life, and I know many others. Everything that was in process personally and financially abruptly stopped, and like many people of relatively high privilege, I found myself with an abundance of time on my hands to contemplate where I am. What am I doing with my life? And whether what it is that I'm reaping from that will see me through the winter. My initial assessment looked quite good. After all, we were going to stay home for 2 weeks, flatten the curve, and get back to normal. This was a great time to clean the house, take some time to play the video games that were not getting played, look at what I was doing, and consider if there was anything else I ought to be doing or maybe dangerously wanted to be doing. And then 2 weeks became a month. A month became 2 and nearly 3 before the library said, we're going to start offering limited services, come back to work. And that time to assess what I have and what I need became frantically upgrading my home office to have higher quality audio and visual equipment for voice lessons over Zoom, looking for projects to structure the day outside of that studio teaching time so that maybe my ADHD was not in full control as I sat parked in front of screens. Checking COVID data nonstop to see if this sudden and unexpected appearance of winter might ease and allow a few gigs in the fall. As I'm sure you remember, it did not. There were 1 or 2 better months, and then it was harvest time again, despite there not really having been a growing season. And the new assessment didn't really look so good, and the last place I wanted to be was alone with my thoughts. Even so, all the movies, television, attempts to interest my wife Amy in one more round of Sagrada were increasingly not keeping the keen awareness of just how bad things were looking away. and during the ongoing stress of never really leaving the house, my wife entered a massive depressive episode to the point that she drove herself to the psychiatric hospital and was admitted for inpatient services. As part of her ongoing therapy journey, she learned that the aches and pains she felt every day were more than normal, and became diagnosed over time with a combination of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, hypermobility, and fibromyalgia. Unable to keep up with the demands of her job, she was let go. And like many people, if it weren't for those COVID relief checks, we'd have been hard-pressed to make it through this yet again sudden appearance of winter. And I expect a few of you can relate. In many ways, like a traditional Lammas effigy that we named John Barleycorn 2020 to 2022, stabbed me in the heart, cut me off at the knees, beat me with crabtree sticks, and harrowed the leavings into the ground. But friends, like John Barleycorn, I was not dead. I was certainly fallow, and I did lie dormant a long, long time. I reached a point so low that my constant companion, the melodies that really never stop playing in my head, went quiet. I didn't sing silly songs because something reminded me of a lyric, or something rhythmically in a person's speech reminded me of a melody, and I had to sing the song. Things that were central to how I view myself as a person became subsumed into a great silence, to the point that even my voice began to atrophy down to a whisper. A fact that I hid from my friends by turning up the gain on my microphone because we were still mostly isolating. And then, at last, rain began to fall. Amy got a new job. It had great insurance, and for the first time I went to a doctor. And we found out together that what I was experiencing was a combination of anxiety completely over the top and acid reflux. And we started an antidepressant and a proton pump inhibitor. It didn't take very long at all for the jukebox of my mind to fire back up. New and different, full of happy songs that, I'll be honest, I was not predisposed to like before I was on an antidepressant. My voice started to clear up and work again. And the hospitalization rates due to COVID finally, blessedly, began to drop, and we made gentle forays into seeing our friends in person. Just a game night here, laughing at a movie together there. But it became a modest growing season that continued even through Samhain. And no, things have not been entirely better since the emotional rains began to fall, but at the same time, with help from our friends and family and community members, the dark days of a fallow season that seemed like it would never end have not come back. And so the time of harvest is upon us once more. It's time once again to ask ourselves, what can I sustain in the days ahead? What must I set down? What harm will come to my community if I set that down? Will there be greater harm to me if I don't? Does what I enjoy leave me the room to make what I need to survive, or must it be cut back? And I'll be entirely honest, like many people of my generation, the answer to that last question has been yes, more often than it's been no. But looking at our shared experiences, that's pretty average. All the same, my thoughts have already begun to turn to the seeds that have fallen that I have available to plant at next year's planting time, so that next year's harvest might have fewer tough decisions in it. I've been talking about hard things for rather a while, so I want you to take a moment now and think back to all those beautiful golden lines that were moving between us not so long ago. All the love, support, and help of dozens of people is there for us. And if you recognized yourself in my discussion of an extended fallow season, please let this be the time you talk to someone. There are so many brilliant people who share in these struggles and who want to help us with them. We form communities of mutual support, love, and spiritual growth specifically so that we don't need to face these challenges alone. And if, like me, you have a tendency to think, sure, that's good for everyone else, but I am special and different and it doesn't work that way for me, no, you're not. You count, and the help is also yours. As hard as it is to hear it, I promise it's that hard to say. But my hope for all of us is that your harvest comes at the end of a tremendous growing season, that it has begun happily and will middle with feasting, and that you will end your harvest fully prepared for a winter of safe contemplation among the vast, interconnected burrows and layers of your communities. Bishe away, so may it be.
We are going to do the offering, and we have a guest here who's been very patient, and I can't find my paper. Okay. Too many papers. It's Mr. Gerard. And your first name?
Calvin.
Calvin Gerard. And you are?
Okay. All right, so good morning. I'll probably just start by saying it's amazing the warmth that this place has. I walked in and had several folks say, hey, have you been here before? And complete stranger to most of you, but I just felt the warmth that you've, shared with me this morning. I want to talk quickly about Greenworks, and I'll be here afterwards if you want to talk more about it. But first, just a big thank you for the opportunity to come before you today. My name is Calvin Gerard, and I serve as board chair for an incredible local nonprofit called Greenworks in Kansas City. We're headquartered in Midtown, downtown Kansas City, and Greenworks has been a passion area for me. For me, I was actually an immigrant to this country. I was born in St. Lucia in the Caribbean, and I lived in a spot where behind me in my backyard was a very lush rainforest, and immigrated to the U.S. to a community not much like what we find in our kind of urban core, but I lived in Hartford, Connecticut. And in that community, right, there was not that same lushness that I grew up seeing, feeling, touching the dirt and the like, which is a lot of what our kids face today. Today in our urban core, on average, what we see for maybe everyone in this room, but in general, on average, I'll say this number, I hope it sticks, but 40, right? So 40 is the number of hours that we generally spend on devices in any given week. And our kids are spending about 40 hours on any given week on devices. And what that's really doing when you think about it, for us, many of us, we've worked 40 hours in our lives, right? 40 hours in a given work week. Right now, our kids are doing that in front of devices. So it's really, in effect, taking, the outdoor living that many of us grew up with, right? Think about the farms that we grew up on, the lush playgrounds that we had, but our kids now are more on devices than they are outdoors. And so what we do from a Greenworks standpoint is we work to provide environmental education, so outdoor experiences for our kids, a lot of the funding we receive, it's to be able to get our kids out, touching the dirt, walking through the woods, listening to birds, right? So all those things. And today, and with the sermon, talking about planting seeds and the harvest. And on our end, that's what we work to do with our kids. We try to plant seeds for them. Greenworks has been around for almost 16 years now. And it's so incredibly great to see that the kids that we started off with are productive members of our communities now in this way. One of our newest board members is a former student, and one of the things that he attributes and credits Greenworks with is the business that he's created, which is a lawn servicing business where he works with others to plant native plants, right? So again, just the opportunity and things that he would have never had an opportunity to do because most of his surroundings were in a concrete jungle, right? So even the playgrounds that he was in, surrounded by turf, right? And surrounded not by, again, what I think we grew up with, but not to belabor the point, but Greenworks serves an incredible purpose. And thank you for inviting us, Greenworks, up here, inviting me up here to speak on behalf of Greenworks. Look forward to all the wonderful things that we can do together, but I just have to say that the experience here today has just been incredible, so thank you for allowing me to be part of your day and part of your service. And one last thing, again, back to that number 40, just keep that in our minds, right? So when we think about our grandkids, I have 2 kids. My oldest, his name is Abraham, he's 12 years old. My youngest is 9 years old, Elida. And I think I'm immune to it, right, in terms of, hey, I need to get my kids out there, but I find that there are weekends, right, where they spend more times in front of devices than we do interacting as a family. And for me, part of my, I think about the circle that was just discussed, but part of what I'm longing to do, right, is to be able to not only show them respectfully what it means to be on those devices, but also making sure that they understand the real health benefits of being outside, being able to see further, being able to, improve testing scores. All the science is there that tells us this. But for all of us, just remember that number as we ourselves are interacting on devices. Not to say that it's bad, because I spend probably more than that on devices, because most of my work is in front of a computer. But just keeping in mind that the notion of being able to have our kids outdoors, feel the dirt, touch the dirt, get your feet in the dirt, being able to understand the different bird calls, right, and the singing that happens, all the things that I think we grew up with. About a year and a half ago at work, and I'll stop after this, but about a year and a half, as a new leadership team at work, we were talking about how many of us have had experiences outdoors, and every single one of us, so there are 8 or 9 of us, all had a farming experience, whether our great-grandparents owned a farm, grandparents owned a farm, or parents even owned a farm. But the collective reality of there is that the fact that we were outdoors as kids gave us a new appreciation, and we are advocating for the environment. We're advocating for all those little nuanced things. But just think about, again, your own lives. Most of my experiences as a kid, the really impactful experiences came outdoors. And with your help, we can provide the same thing to our kids in the urban core, just an opportunity, again, to be able to go outside in a setting that's just not immediately outside their doors, but actually taking them into nature on field trips and the like. But again, thank you for your time. This has been just an incredible experience and much appreciated. Thank you.
So our Donate the Plate today goes to Greenworks. So please be generous.
Now is Lammas summer harvest, find the
the children, all the family, food and plenty all through the year. Now is summer harvest, bind the sheaves tight and carry the grain home, feed the children, all the family, food and plenty all through the year. Now is summer harvest, bind the sheaves tight and carry the grain home, feed the children, all the family, food and plenty all through the year. As the long days all grow shorter, and the hornborn he wanes and weakens, we have plenty and good eating through his dying to live again. Now is summer harvest, bind the sheaves tight and carry the grain home, feed the children, all the family, food and plenty all through the year. As the sun sets, so the moon will rise. Praise the Lady and light the fire from her body, and to sacrifice comes our harvest and our lives. Now is summer harvest, bind the sheaves tight and carry the grain home, feed the children, all the family, food and plenty all through the year. Join your voices, spirits and hearts, bring your love now and join together. For the harvest it is gathered, and the time for the dance is come. Now is summer harvest, bind the sheaves tight and carry the grain home, feed the children, all the family, food and plenty all through the year. Now is summer harvest, bind the sheaves tight and carry the grain home, feed the children, all the family, food and plenty all through the year. And if you'll join with me in saying, we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment, These we carry with us in our hearts until we are together again. And if you will rise as you are able and willing to join in hymn 70, Heap High the Farmer's Wintry Hoard. And sanctity of this shared time together, remember that the thicket and bramble wilderness hides within it a vast network of burrows, layers, and places of shelter interwoven among the deep roots that have grown between you and those who you live in community with. Take time not just to inventory the harvest, but to feast with and celebrate those who journey with you through the days and more ahead. Blessed be.